For this prototype, I am discovering how to best implement a timer for Rainbow Rush Restaurant or Rainbow Restaurant Rush, one of the two. What I ended up doing is creating this canvas, this UI element containing text, a button, and an image. The button will reset the timer. We have the timer set to 10 seconds. And that's all set in this timer controller. So you can change the time here. Let's do 5 seconds for this example. And the timer icon is attached through this timer controller. And the image contains this little green bubble circle where the fill is adjusted based on the timer. So if we run this real quick, you'll see that the timer goes down. And once I hit the button, it's going to reset. And so here I have a fictitious scene of what the game might look like with the character in front. And the idea here is that we would have this timer linked to every object, and that's how it's going to primarily work. Scripts and created a countdown script, which uses these serialized fields, which allow Unity to input all of these elements. So the text is all drawn from there, which is how we're able to set the time being 5 seconds or 10 seconds straight from Unity without having to change the code here. And the timer icon we also set in Unity, and that's what these are for. Our float timer here is just our timer. We have a can count to see if the timer should decrease, as there's cases where you don't want the timer to run out. Our do once boolean is only used if we only want it to, well, count down once. Our start here sets the timer equal to our main timer. The main timer here again is the total amount of time that the countdown will start at. And we're going to go ahead and go through the update function, which is basically if the timer should run here, or if it should not run. And we have an empty game over function if this is the last time that the countdown needs to run. But besides that, the countdown is pretty simple. The timer subtracts as time goes through, and it updates the text using Unity Engine's UI library. And the timer icon, which I showed you previously, is adjusted via this single line of code, which takes the amount of time over the total time and creates that sort of fraction, which influences how much of the image is going to be shown. And then lastly, we have our reset button. This is a way that I can control the button to make sure that it functions, and as the player is going to be moving around, we need a way to reset that timer if a new customer comes in or if anybody else comes in. This reset button or reset class is what's going to be able to create that action. I wanted to show again how the serialized fields actually work, because they provide a lot of functionality when we're testing things out. And so here you can see I have 5 seconds. In the main timer, we're going to put this at something a little bit higher, maybe 15 seconds. And we can obviously change the image, which we have here a different set of images, and we're hoping to use these images to change over time, perhaps keep the method that we have now where it reduces visually the circle to represent time running out, or we can just change the color depending on sort of what works best. And that's our next process in these prototypes. And going forward, I think figuring out how we're going to do this, implement this with multiple characters is going to be interesting, and probably one of the more difficult aspects of this timer specifically. But back to our timer controller, set that to 15. Go ahead and run this. And now it sets back. You see that the icon reflects that change, and that's what we want to do here. And the reset button, of course, resets that.